Welcome to Influencers, where we bring you the people that influence our city, our community, and our state. Today, we're honored to have Lieutenant Governor Mark Hutchison here, who's a friend of this chamber, been a friend a long time. Mark, thanks for being here.
Peter, it's great to be with you, and looking forward to the opportunity just to chat with you a little bit and to talk more about the power chamber.
I appreciate that. You put that tag on us, and that put a lot of pressure, and we're trying to live up to that. Let me ask you something. Where would you rather be right now if you could be anywhere else?
Oh, I would, anytime I can be with my family, and I can enjoy my 6 children and my 6, soon to be 7 grandchildren, particularly in the mountains or near the beach. That's as good as it gets, Peter.
I like that. Tell us about yourself. Tell us, how did you get to Nevada? What brought you here? The journey?
Born and raised here. Went to Bonanza High School.
Bonanza, wow.
Bonanza, I'm a Bengal, Bonanza Bengal. And before that, I went to Garside Junior High School and then Rose Warren Elementary School. All of those schools are in Torrey Pines. So I never got off Torrey Pines until I went to college. And then I went to UNLV, graduated from UNLV, and then eventually went to BYU Law School. But I was born and raised here. My father was a longtime employee of an iconic company here in town called Ahern Reynolds. Yep. And before that, my grandfather worked at the test site. But he was a Kentucky farm boy who came out here during the Great Depression, eventually making his way to Las Vegas.
Wow, that's amazing. Who's had the greatest influence on you, both personally and career-wise?
Well, without doubt, my father's had the greatest influence on me personally. My dad was the finest man I've ever known in my life. And he was just this wonderful example of hard work, dedication, family. He was a blue-collar worker, picked up a lunch pail, put on a pair of boots every day, went to work in a rental company, Ahern Reynolds, spent his entire adult life there. But he taught me the value of hard work and honesty and integrity. At one time, though, he had a lot of authority over me. He was my boss. He was, of course, my father. And then he held a position of bishop in the church in my congregation. So at one time, I tell people he could excommunicate me, ground me for a month at a time, and then and fire me. So he had all this influence over me, and it was just righteous, good, fatherly influence, just a powerful man. And then professionally, I worked for a great lawyer here in town. His name's Steve Morris. And after I came out from a national law firm and came back to Las Vegas, I worked several years with Steve Morris, and he taught me to try cases and really be a fine trial lawyer and litigator because I had such a wonderful mentor.
Wow. I think it's always important. Isn't it great when you're able to say your dad was your biggest influence?
Oh, I just...
my dad was my best man at my wedding.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
One of my biggest regrets is that my father died when he was 65. And was able to see a lot of things in my life and my family's life, but I miss him every day, Peter. I miss him every day. I really wish I could have his influence, with me every day, although I continue to feel his impact. But like your dad, just powerful people, just powerful men who make all the difference.
And the journey to become Lieutenant Governor, what made you want to do that?
I always knew there'd be a time when I wanted to give some public service. But I knew that I did not want to do that without having something to give initially. I read an article years ago about a interaction between Mitt Romney and his dad, George Romney. And Mitt Romney wanted to run for office, and basically George Romney, of course, had been the governor of Michigan, ran for president. He basically said to his son, go get your education and get your professional training, then bring something when you run for office. And I really thought that was good advice. So I knew later, maybe on in my career, later on in my professional life, I wanted to give some public service. Ran for the state senate. After I had run for the state senate and served with Brian Sandoval, he asked me to run as lieutenant governor. It's been my honor to serve with him since.
That's fantastic. More with Lieutenant Governor in a moment. Welcome back to Influencers, today with Lieutenant Governor Mark Hutchison. About the office of Lieutenant Governor, tell us about what that office does, what the Lieutenant Governor does that maybe people don't know about.
Well, the Lieutenant Governor is a very unique position within government. The Lieutenant Governor has one foot in the legislative office and one foot in the executive offices. In the legislative offices, you're the President of the Senate. and the state senate, where you preside over the floor sessions each day. And I just thoroughly loved that and enjoyed that because I had been a state senator and just loved the state senate as an institution. Then you got the other foot in the executive branch of office, where you're, you're number two within the executive branch. You stand in for the governor when, for any reason, he couldn't continue to do his duties. You serve in various executive agencies, such as the Board of Transportation. I'm a vice chairman of the Board of Transportation. I'm the chairman of the Commission on Tourism, and I also serve on the State Board of Economic Development. Those are like the statutory responsibilities, but really the power of the office, the authority of the office, and the influence of the office comes from your relationship with the governor. If you're on friendly terms, if you're on good terms with the governor, if the governor sees you as a partner, then he or she can delegate more responsibilities to you. And Governor Sandoval has. For example, he's appointed me to the Commission on Homeland Security.
Of course.
He's asked me to chair the Energy Choice Initiative committee, and he's given me a lot of responsibilities and assignments because we've got a great relationship and a great partnership.
And tell us about how the Lieutenant Governor offices can help small business community.
Well, economic development, of course, is right in the wheelhouse of the Lieutenant Governor, and the Governor's Office of Economic Development is right in the wheelhouse of the Lieutenant Governor having a position on that board. But I would say this, Pete, and one of the challenges, and you know this as a small businessman, one of the challenges sometimes with business is just interacting with government, right? Federal government, state government. And one of the things that I do almost every day is help businessmen, businesswomen, professionals, citizens interact with their government. And my staff and myself are available to kind of help interact and make inquiries and follow up on applications and permits and inquiries that maybe get lost a little bit in the bureaucracy. And so I would say one of the things that businessmen and businesswomen ought to do and reach out to my office as well as other offices of government is for help in interacting with government. Because sometimes we make a phone call and it's from the Lieutenant Governor or from the Lieutenant Governor's office. You sometimes can get a little more attention and maybe a little more prompt response if you make an inquiry for a constituent. And the great thing is every single Nevadan is my constituent. So they can call my office and I can help them get results with government.
And I can vouch for that because we've had them call here and then we've reached out to your office and we've always been able to get some good results. So I guess that would lead me right into my next question. How can the small business community take more advantage of the tools that are out there?
Well, there is a lot that the government can help small businesses accomplish. There's a lot of different ways in which government purchases small business products or services. And there's a whole system within which if small business owners don't understand how government purchases products or purchases services, they never have access to an important client. So I would say one thing we ought to do is make sure that the small business community understands how to access government as a customer. And then how to access government in terms of helping with permitting and applications and all the things that are necessary within the interaction between a business and with government. But I would just say and encourage small businesses to reach out to my office, reach out to the governor's office and say, what way can I provide services or products for government? And there's just tremendous opportunities there for small businesses. And for the Latin Chamber of Commerce in particular, lots of opportunities in that regard.
We'll be back in a moment with our Lieutenant Governor. Hello, welcome back to Influencers. We're going to talk about new initiatives. So tell us what you'd like to see from the next Lieutenant Governor, and what out of the office as well. What can happen more?
I think the greatest characteristic, the greatest trait I think of any elected official, including Lieutenant Governor, is a great love for the state of Nevada and a great love for Nevadans, and putting Nevada first. I'll tell you, I think that is what is going to be. I think Governor Sandoval will be remembered for that more than anything else, is that no matter what, no matter the political influence, no matter the political pressure, no matter the upside, the downside for him, he said, what's best for Nevada? And I've tried to follow that example as well. What's best for Nevada and put that first. So I would say, first and foremost, what's best for Nevada. After that, you just want to have a man or a woman of integrity and honor who want to serve the public, who aren't looking to rise to the ranks of government necessarily or looking for their next, political appointment or political elected office, but somebody who really wants to be a servant leader. I think that's what we need more than anything else, Peter, is servant leaders in public office.
Yeah. How much influence does the governor, you brought up Governor Sandoval, who's done an amazing job.
He has.
How much influence does he have over your office? And equally, is there any room for the lieutenant governor to have a little influence on the governor?
Well, I'll start with the last point first, and that is, I just can't tell you strongly enough how important it is that the governor and lieutenant governor are on the same page and have confidence in each other. If you don't have confidence in each other, lieutenant governor's office is not nearly as effective. And so the governor has tremendous influence over that office, and just based on a relationship that I have with Governor Sandoval, I can have some influence on his office only because I'm a friend of his. I think I'm somebody who he trusts and somebody who I can provide some insight and advice to. But Governor Sandoval is a tremendous leader. He gets a lot of input and advice from a lot of different people, and I'm sometimes privileged to be one of those.
That's excellent. I think that works out better for the state, by the way.
It does.
How involved are you and or your office with the governor's office? Like, do you communicate on a daily basis, a weekly? What's the interaction?
I see the governor often, and I see him most often when we serve together on various commissions and boards. I think the governor serves on, I may even be underestimated, I think it's like 12 or 14 boards or commissions. So a lot of his day, people don't understand this, is chairing these boards and these commissions. And I'm on about 5 or 6 of them. As I said, including the Board of Transportation, Board of Economic Development, the Commission on Homeland Security, others. And I see him a lot when we are engaged in those kind of commissions and board activities. And then I'll see him during the legislature on a regular basis,
of course,
going back and forth, and I think interacting with him regularly during the legislative session. But outside the legislative session, see him a lot in these boards and commissions meetings that we both serve on.
I want to switch gears. You kind of touched on something that turned out to be a little controversial with the recalls. Tell me, how do you feel about the whole recall situation? You know, why we did it, why you did it.
Yeah.
Would you do it again?
Yeah.
Do you feel strongly about it?
The recalls of the state senators began with committees to recall those state senators. My partner was the lawyer for those committees. He's one of maybe, 2 or 3 lawyers in the state who could advise on election law and campaign kind of related issues. And then there came a time where after the recall process went through, and that was the committee's responsibility, that was the committee's desire to do that. Very difficult process. You have to get 25% of the voters who voted in the election that elected that official to sign a petition that says, we want to recall. And they were able to do that initially. You got to submit that to the state Secretary of State. Secretary of State then qualifies that petition and says, okay, there's 25% of the voters who want to recall. At that point, there's always then a legal challenge. That's when I became involved. I was involved as a lawyer, not as a lieutenant governor.
Okay.
And so my partner came to me and the client came to me and said, would you defend the lawsuit in court? Would you get up and present our position legally in court? And I said I'd be honored to. And here's why, Pete. I'm honored anytime somebody comes to me and says, will you represent me in defending my constitutional right? And I don't care what that right is. I don't care if it's your First Amendment right to speech, your Second Amendment right to bear arms. I don't care if it's unreasonable searches and seizures, or I don't care if it's your constitutional right to recall your elected officials. I believe in the process. I believe in the Constitution, and so I represented my clients in a constitutional challenge to the recall process. And it was a rewarding experience, one that I would do again in a second, because I will represent anybody, anytime in defending their constitutional rights. And that's what all Nevadans have, the right to not only elect, but the right to recall their elected officials.
We'll be back with our last segment with our Lieutenant Governor in a moment. Hello and welcome back to Influencers, our last segment with our Lieutenant Governor. So happy to have you here today. It's always good. Mark, tell us how the Hispanic community has benefited from your work and the work of the Lieutenant Governor.
Well, let me just start by saying how I've benefited from the Hispanic community. When I ran for office in 2014, the governor and I made a really concerted effort to reach out, to show up, to listen to the Hispanic community. Fastest growing segment of our state. fastest growing population in terms of, I think, small businesses and influencers. That's why I call you the power chamber. I think the future of Nevada is with the Hispanic chamber and the Hispanic community in so many ways. And so I was rewarded greatly. I had so many people support me and bless me and continue to bless me in my office. And so I've been blessed by the Hispanic community, and I've tried to then be available everywhere I can and any way I can with my friends of the Hispanic community. And so I'm available to help with the interaction, like we talked about before, with government and the challenges with government, with small businesses. I'm available to help anybody within the Hispanic community navigate the challenges of education, navigate the challenges of healthcare, navigate the challenges of government, and I've tried to do that. Pete, I've tried to have my door open, and I've tried to have my email available, my phone available, my door available, and I just want to be accessible to help people any way I can, empower them to have a good job and strong families. The two keys to success and blessings in life, and that the government can help in terms of policy level, strong families, and a good job.
And those are fundamentals in the Hispanic families. Family means everything to them.
Yeah,
so
I know.
I appreciate you saying that. I'm gonna jump over to a question because I know you.
Yeah.
And I'm sad, actually. I don't know what your future is. I'm gonna ask you what your future is, and you can tell it. I can tell you though. This state will miss you if you're not a public servant.
Thank you.
You have walked it, talked it. You have been amazing.
Thank you, Peter.
So what is your future?
Well, I'm not running in 2018, as you well know. I was asked to run as lieutenant governor by my friend Brian Sandoval. He's termed out, and I'm just going to be riding out of office with him because I can't imagine being lieutenant governor with anybody other than Brian Sandoval. And that's not a criticism on anybody else. It's just that I accepted lieutenant governor and running for lieutenant governor because Brian Sandoval asked me to do so. I was a state senator. I was very happy to be a state senator. And so the future for me is going to be a future of an opportunity. I go back to my family, as you know, for me and you, and for many people, the most important element of our life. I've got a big family. I've got a growing family that deserves more of my time and attention. I've got a large law firm and large law practice that deserves more of my time and attention. And I'm going to be focusing on that for a little while. But the future opportunities, we'll see what comes along. I'm not done with public service. And I think in the future, I'd like to run for some office.
That's good to hear. It really is because, again, I think the state deserves it. I think that the party would be making a huge mistake by pushing you too far out. We need to have you embraced and, certainly appreciate all of your service.
Well, thank you, Peter. I'm going to do all I can to help the business community, help the Latin Chamber, help good people get elected to office, and we need good people. That's why I've encouraged you a few times to run.
I know. And before we close out, I want to say you've been a tremendous influence on me, both personally and in business, even spiritually. You always talk about your family. You always talk about the important things, and to me, that's a great sign of character. So you're going to be surely missed, but you've done a great job as Lieutenant Governor. I'm honored to call you a friend.
Well, Peter, thank you very much. God bless you and Godspeed to you and your family.
Yeah. I want to thank Lieutenant Governor Mark Hutchison for joining me today, and I hope you've enjoyed this episode of Influencers. I certainly have. Until next time, stay motivated and stay inspired. Thank you.